And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah, they have nothing else to talk.
The world watched live as Whoopi Goldberg lost it all at once. And it wasn't heat stroke. Charlie Kirk entered the spotlight as though it were the open mic night for the Logic roast. Then Whoopi was all self-confident and self-satisfied. And then she seemed to have seen a ghost wearing a Turning Point USA hoodie. What was it that Charlie said that made her blink like someone had pulled the teleprompter cable? Hold on tight. This was not a debate. It was a detonation. Ben Shapiro, wearing a wig, mediates a tantrum that is more exciting than a reunion of Real Housewives.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis.
Whoopi, the self-styled king of daytime drama, sits on her opulent throne and makes seductive statements as if they were scripture. For years, she has been surrounded by media that doesn't care about criticism. But not today. Today, that balloon burst. In your opinion, who held the pen? Charlie Kirk. He came with a camera, confidence, and receipts, but he was a different kind of disruptor of monarchy during the day. He wasn't sitting across from her. He didn't even enter the studio. After launching a podcast, he let the internet handle the rest. And what triggered it all? A self-satisfied opinion wrapped in applause and nods, until Charlie withdrew it and, like a sniper instead of screamer, revealed the reality.
Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me. And it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay. So, the state
Charlie carefully considered Whoopi's entire point rather than just clapping back. No drama. No shouting, just quiet, deliberate breakdowns. He constructed paradoxes piece by piece, including the odd extra pegs, much like IKEA furniture. The best feature? He knew the clip would break the algorithm before dessert. The internet immediately responded with reels, stitching YouTube shorts and Reddit threads. Whoopi's comments catalog was suddenly being viewed as archaeology, and not in a good way.
Look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away.
People who hadn't seen The View since Obama's first term soon voiced their opinions. Why? Because there was only a shaky, foundationless tower of takes when Charlie pulled back the curtain. One of the important questions that well-liked video brought up was, wait, did she just make that up? How did people applaud that? Then came the slow hiss. Deflation, instead of a direct roast. It resulted from a more potent exposure. That studio, once impregnable with secure zingers and coordinated claps, suddenly felt vulnerable. The same chair, the same Whoopi, but there was a change in the air, and everyone felt it.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sonny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men
can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
Even worse, it was unrelated to anything Charlie said. That's how he put it. Remain composed and focused. Not a show. Don't yell. The cold truth. He didn't need a spectacular set or a glamorous squad, just a Wi-Fi connection, and the guts to say what everyone else was thinking. One clean takedown was enough to shatter the illusion. Suddenly, the view didn't feel so sacred. The anthem? It sounded a little hollow, because when rationality enters a space built on noise, the resulting silence is deafening.
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced neo-Nazis who showed up outside the event.
To be clear, Whoopi persisted. She didn't leave the set or cry. She didn't move. But the fire, it cooled. The energy waned. You couldn't cut this TV critique into a dramatic scene. Silent and slow was the deterioration. The next hot take ended in awkward silence rather than applause. It starts with the slightest shift. Producers are being cautious. Issues are becoming more muted. And punchlines are hitting weaker. And why? Because Charlie did not argue. He disclosed. No contest for yelling. One sniper shot of reasoning cut off the oxygen, and he turned to walk away.
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit. I want to make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazi Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing, I felt.
Well, fast forward to this morning, the host apologized before quickly cutting to commercial.
It wasn't blue and red. It was gibberish versus reason. It also had strong Wi-Fi, and the logic was logged in for once. The crowd woke up. They realized that a 10-second Google search would not yield the same results as the terms they had been cheering for. When did it sound the loudest? The silence. Not just from Whoopi, but from the whole machine. No rebuttals. No crisis in public relations. Simply keep quiet. Because when the receipts are too strong, even the spin cycle breaks. Charlie, too? He didn't brag about it. He just dipped like a man who triggered a fire alarm and casually ran out the side door.
Sean, something that struck me in the cease and desist letter was the sentence that specifically The View hosts insidiously and cavalierly stated that TPUSA let the neo into its event, metaphorically embraced them, and it went on. Insidiously and cavalierly. And I felt that perfectly summed up exactly what those women were saying, which is something so deeply toxic and also so lightly thrown out there.
And so false. I mean, these were protesters outside of the event, right? They couldn't get in. These were not neo-Nazis inside of Turning Point USA. They were protesting outside on public grounds, and Turning Point tried to remove them.
Despite her polished look, Whoopi came upon a searchable timeline. Something that no famous person can avoid. No tantrums. No chaos. It is merely a cold, creeping understanding that the receipts are louder than the speech. Charlie did not bring fame with him. Just facts. Whoopi's presentation, which mostly used claps and catchphrases, gained consistency thanks to Charlie. The View used to be a sanctuary of untouchable faith. Now, it's starting to look like a museum from the past. And nobody needed to be reminded to pay attention.
I don't want to say too much, but we're going to have a lot of fun at the Department of Education. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Can I tell you something? Like, I've had quite a few people contact me about that particular post. Like, I'm sure I have 1/100th of what you're getting, but people are contacting me about cabinet posts. I'm like, I got
look,
nothing.
I mean, I'm actually, after this conversation, heading to Mar-a-Lago for a week. And we have a lot to sift through, and if I could be helpful, I have asked. I want to be actively involved in all things education, as you can imagine.
It was disappointment rather than anger, and it hurt far more. Charlie broke up the fight, and it was like witnessing someone unravel a gold chain while the other person insisted it was a noose. Whoopi didn't seem malevolent. She seemed flawed and human, like someone whose facts haven't been examined in a while. Charlie, too, with a hoodie, camera, and pie chart, he transformed a studio segment into something like a BuzzFeed quiz. No stage, no rebuttal. A single calm monologue rewired the entire conversation.
Do you think if a liberal came to speak at University of Kentucky, they'd give an open mic like I just did to a conservative and had a discussion like this?
I certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. Because speech is not a left-wing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our event.
Suddenly, The View was no longer a show but a case study. They looked at the clips, played once more, memed. Furthermore, the truth settled rather than blowing up, similar to a stone in a calm pond. Don't yell. No viral conflagration. The entire applause machine was rocked by a single, unequivocal fact. Will Whoopi recover? Naturally, it's TV. Can viewers turn it off? The most crucial question is the one. Once the illusion is gone, it's hard to sell. And in the future, 1,000 online investigators will be prepared with pause buttons, watching every dramatic eyebrow raise and viral outburst. Charlie figured out the formula, rather than just facing a moment. Moreover, the truth cannot be undone once it has traction.